Hello, people of the internet. Today I'll be going over The New Woman by Emma Goldman. It's an address by Emma Goldman before the Liberal Progressive Society of Providence, Rhode Island. Awesome. From 1898. The first paragraph is about how Christianity helped to perpetuate or uh, um, help to continue the patriarchal ideas of society that man is superior to woman and that woman must be subservient due to uh, the whole Adam and Eve rib cage story, and then how that has perpetuated throughout culture due to, that being shared through the generations and so on and so forth, how women are raised to be more subservient to man and how men are raised to be more dominant and so on and so forth. However, I'm more interested in talking about what's going on in these next paragraphs, starting here. Another great error in the ideal new woman, and one that is to be condemned, is that of aping male, seeking to become masculine, considering that man is superior to woman. No decent woman can emulate them. We must first have the new man. In other words, man being with the toxic masculine traits. Now, what is meant by toxic masculine traits, toxic masculine traits, is ideas such as men always have to be angry, or not necessarily angry, but men must be all super must always carry a kind of super machismo, must always be dominating everyone around them, must always be controlling everyone around them, must always be never show emotions, must always be aggressive, and so on and so forth. These kinds of things are toxic because they sometimes lead to things like spousal abuse, rape, things like or discrimination against LGBTQ plus individuals. So what is instead needed is a new type of masculinity, a new type of man that has masculine traits but is also not those things. That is also more less toxic, for lack of a better term. And that is, I think, that a thing that society must strive for, of course. In all things, women are equal to men, even in the productive field. Even radicals do not differ from Christians. They do not wish their wives to become radical. Even they deem themselves necessary to her protection. And yeah, that's true. Like, the toxic masculine idea is not exclusive to conservatism, at least not at the time. There were men throughout the anarchist movement, throughout other progressive movements and socialist movements that were toxic masculine, that did have the traits that are being condemned here. After all, Emma Goldman, as both a feminist and anarchist and a proponent of free love, she was all for homosexuality. She was all for polyamory, and she was all for for things like women's equality and things like that. So long as she needs protection, she is not on equal footing. We need only to protect weaklings, one of the invasive points in the character of man that is too authoritative for the force progress in woman. And while we and while he has evolved slowly, he is making a fatal mistake in made of making a fatal mistake of securing more liberty for women through the very thing that was his own enslavement, i.e., authority. Opposition to this will correct this evil. I agree completely. Contemptible marriage laws and adherence to them tend to still farther increase the degradation. To assert that freedom of sex relations is natural law is interpreted to mean free lust. Yeah, that's true, and Emma Goldman has experienced that. Check out Zoe Baker's video, her video on Emma Goldman and the Creepy Man for info on that. The law of love governs this as in all matters, love being the fulfillment of the law motherhood and its beauty, of which poets have written, is a farce, and cannot be otherwise until we have freedom economically. So only on when women are on equal footing with men, only then can there be real beauty in motherhood. Otherwise, it's forced and therefore it's ugly. It's this idea of women only being forced to be subservient wives and mothers. If that idea is forced on anyone, it loses its beauty. So the idea that people talk about with motherhood and with that kind of thing being so beautiful doesn't actually exist until women can choose to be free economically. Men are all heroes at home, but cowards abroad. Women, too, would be as unjust at the ballot box as are the men. They are tyrants as well as are men. Woman, to be free, must be the mutual friend and mate of man. In other words, to try to dominate men would only further ideas of hierarchy, of oppression, and that is something as anarchists we must not have. We must not have hierarchy or oppression or anything of that nature. But of course, that hasn't stopped it from existing in leftist movements. Like, for instance, the Paris Commune, women weren't really allowed to vote, which is always something that is to be criticized, even though the Paris Commune probably has done plenty of good things in its time of existing. The individual is the ideal liberty. We owe no duty to anyone save ourselves. When universal woman once comprehends this ideal, then all protective laws intended for protection, which is indeed her weakness, will disappear, and this adulterous system goes away. And with it, charity and all its attendant ills. In short, the woman movement demands an equal advancement by the modern man. Well said, Emma Goldman. I am sorry that, and on other matters, I felt like addressing this. I know that my format has been quite boring, not very appealing. So I'm trying to think of ways to address that, and if that means taking the camera off of my the paper, that might help. Oh yeah, that's another book I'm reading lately, On Anarchism by Noam Chomsky. That's very compelling. I do recommend people check it out. Anyway, Um, yeah, so I don't know how to conclude this other than stay strong, comrades, and if you have any suggestions on how to improve my format, then please leave it in the comments below. Thank you.